Welcome everybody online. We can't wait too long. We have promised 2 hours of presentation and discussion, and we have to be honest to the persons who will be expecting us to deliver on that, not just from the perspective of you, the panelists, but there are some persons online who would be getting some continuing education hours for being a part of this presentation. As such, we have to ensure that they too get what is promised. So I want to welcome all the panelists, welcome all the guests. There is a little background that I'd love to give for each of the panelists, so let me just touch on that. The last person to check in is the lovely lady, Sophia Fraser-Baines. Hi. I'm sorry, I should say the last person, last video to turn on. It's Sophia Fraser-Baines. Sophia Fraser-Baines is an attorney at law, over 17 years at the bar, and has enhanced capacities in strategic planning, program management, child rights, and advocacy. A graduate of Westwood High School, Sophia obtained her Bachelor of Law degree in 2003. Yes, I know she looked like a little girl, but she actually got her Bachelor of Law degree in 2003. And we'll be giving you a little bit more on Sophia just before she speaks. Also, we have, I see Kasika Daly online as well. Kasika is a renowned entrepreneur and engineer, civil engineer. She's also a professional in the tourism sector. And when she speaks, I'll be going a little deeper with that. Of course, our very own Janet Law, and I say our Janet Law because I am a financial advisor. But, you know, just like how you have levels to everything, yes, Janet Law is the best of the best, is the top of our game, is one of the strongest financial advisors in the world, worldwide. And yes, it's not surprising that she's a woman. So today, and of course you'll get a little bit more about her when that time comes. But today it's all about celebrating women, but not just celebrating, but informing, educating, and taking you to the next level. Because we know there are some elements of your womanhood that might be pulling you from that perception of self that truly can bring you to the greatness that you deserve to be at. So that is what this seminar is all about. This webinar is all about. It's all about ensuring that you achieve that. So let me start with a brief vibe from each person. That's in the official welcome. But each person speaks from a specific perspective. And I want us to touch those perspectives before we get down into some of the questions and some of the deeper details about each person. Of course, I am your host, Otis Hamilton, and no, I'm not a wealthy woman, but I believe it only makes sense to have another perspective in the conversation, you know, so thanks for having me. So, let's start with our financial advisor, to give us your perspective on wealth generally and how you feel about women in wealth and generally people in wealth. Because, of course, the genders, after a while, will get a little blurry when it comes to wealth conversation. So let's start with you, Lady Janet. Lady Chan?
Yes. Okay, are you hearing me now?
Yeah, man. Hear it loud and clear.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Happy Women's Day. So, to talk a little about wealth, it's important, I believe, to think about wealth as being important. However, one should not think about wealth that it's the end all and it's the be all, and if you are not wealthy, you are not successful. Wealth gives us peace of mind. It's important for us we all want to live comfortably. So in order to live comfortably, we have to have some money. We want our children to be educated properly. We want to have a little luxury. Nothing is wrong with that. And for me, as a financial advisor, I think that's what I do. I sell wealth. I sell money. That's basically it. I try to speak to my clients, speak to everybody, including the agents here, how important it is to be concerned about our well-being. And with all of that comes organization, in terms of how our lives will look like, what our lives will look like in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. So in terms of wealth, I think it's very, very important to look at that, whether you're young or well, it's actually even better to start looking at wealth and money when you're young, in your 20s, and because for one, it's much more cost effective when you're talking about insurance. So with me, it's that's what I do, insurance, and with that comes wealth, because that's what I'm about.
Great, and I know you're not just talking about your wealth, you're talking about wealth for your clients as well.
No, oh God, I don't consider myself wealthy at all. I consider myself comfortable, but not wealthy. I'm not quite there yet. Okay.
Well,
I think I'm quite comfortable.
Well, yeah. I'm happy. I pulled you out before. I mentioned the fact that she's at what we call top of the table producer in the $1 Million Round Table and lead of her company for 7 consecutive years. So you don't get to that point without having real money behind it. But I won't mess with you too much, Janet Law. But she is an amazing producer and just an amazing person. And later on, we'll come back to you, Lady Law. I'm going to need to know, how do you do that and still manage the other part of your life? Because there's a major other part of your life. But let me hear next from our legal or luminaire, our learned friend, Lady Sophia Fraser-Binns, who, as I would have mentioned, she's a sitting senator. She is a family person with two strong young sons, and she is a lawyer, a professional lawyer with her own practice. So she has been doing all of this. So yes, she has some wealth behind her name and a whole heap of work too. So, Lady Fraser-Binns.
Hi, thank you so much, Otis. Good morning, everyone, and happy Women's Day. I don't know about the wealth, but I do believe, like Janet said, that this is something that is so important. The truth, though, is that when we talk about wealth generally, for some reason, and I get the impression that we don't always talk about women and wealth. So when we talk about wealth, we always talk about men. And so I'm very happy for this conversation, because the fact, Otis, and everyone, is that women really are the head of more than 50% of the household in Jamaica. And if we're going to transform the country, we need to make sure that our women are wealthy. And so I think this conversation is so timely. But, I listened to Janet, and she spoke about being wealthy and a financial advisor. And I want to talk about being wealthy because as an attorney, it is one of the things we talk about, but perhaps not in a financial advisor way. But the issue, for example, of estate planning is so important, because one of the things you find is a lot of persons have assets, whether it is real or personal assets, but because they are not sure how to treat it in life or afterlife, then you find that their wealth really comes to naught. And in my own practice, this is something that I do in terms of engaging persons and talking about estate planning. And when we talk about estate planning, we're talking about making a will. We're talking about just how you treat with real property. Do you as a joint tenant or a tenant in common? What happens if you want to put your child on it, and what are the implications? And all of those you have to deal. All of those impact on your state of wealth. But the other thing as well, when I was thinking about this, and I said, but I'm not wealthy. So why would Otis want me to talk about wealth? Because in any definition, I'm not. And like a lightning bolt, it hit me that the truth is that wealth is not just limited to financial, because health is also wealth. And to me, I think that, when one takes care of themselves and manage their time and enjoy the natural resources that exist, then that is also a part of being wealthy. And I am hoping that part of the conversation today will not just look at it from a financial perspective, but just look at it in terms of health and wealth and the other aspect of wealth as well.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Sylvia, I'm trying to keep my device on mute because I'm hearing some sounds in the background. But I'm happy that you bring up the fact that wealth comes in different directions or different perspectives, because it don't make sense. You have all these assets and you don't have the health, you don't have the family, you don't have all of that. I see also somebody seeing or hearing what I'm hearing. We have quite a bit of noise in the background. So I think there might be some persons who are on mute that we're asking if please mute so that we can hear much better. But thank you very much. I'm trying to get my technical people to look at whose background it is that is on mute that might be causing the issue. But definitely thank you very much for that, Lady Fraser Bits. And later on, I want to talk a little bit more into things like the estate planning, things like the matrimonial issues that most of us like to talk about so much. I know in our insurance realm, we always tell people before you talk to them, talk to a financial advisor too, because you might be putting yourself in some serious problems. And also, if love does not live forever, what happens in that space? So we'll be getting back to you in that respect. But let's move on to our engineer and entrepreneur. We know that most women don't naturally jump to the space of being an entrepreneur. And by all the statistics that's out there, we have more women in universities, we have more women employed in corporate world by far, but yet still we don't have more women owning businesses. By far we have more of the entrepreneurs being men. So when we have somebody like Asika Daly, we have to figure out what is so different about you. So Lady Daly, let's hear your perspective.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Otis, for inviting me. It is indeed a pleasure. And so, firstly, in regards to your first question about what it is to be wealthy, I realize that most of these persons, Ms. Law, along with my other panelists, basically say that they are not wealthy. For me, wealth is just being able to live comfortably, being able to cover your bills, as well as having a lifestyle outside of that, right? There are different scale of wealth, like Jeff Bezos levels of wealth that most of us want, but really and truly wealth is health. Wealth is just being able to live a comfortable life. And I'm really glad that I was invited here today, because the topic basically said women and wealth embracing equity. And what we want to talk about today is not just equity as in shareholder equity, but equity as in fairness, because it is very relevant to the topic, right? Because equity does have two meanings, right? In respect to wealth, in order to gain some wealth, and this is just one avenue, because you can work a 9 to 5 and still be wealthy, right? In order to gain entrepreneurial wealth, then you have to have equity in a company. But also, in order to maintain it, you have to operate within equity in respect to its meaning in regards to whether or not how you treat a person fairly, how you treat your clients, how you treat your employees, right? So we want to look at wealth from that aspect and look at the topic for today as International Women's Day in its entirety, not just to separate it, because the latter part of it is very important to women staying wealthy, right? As it is with respect to persons, not more women entering in the field of entrepreneurship. it's a personal choice, right? Maybe I can't speak to them, but as for me, entrepreneurship is what I love. If you ask me, I have more than one companies, I have more than one degrees, and I do dabble in a lot. But if you ask me what it is that I truly love, I don't love any one specific field. I just love the ability to build out any challenges that it comes with. So I have more an entrepreneurial spirit, right? That is something that we have to understand that not everybody is willing to take on. And then with women nowadays, there's another element where society also tells you that you need to have a family that you need to take care of, you need to have children. And if it's a situation where you have the household with both partner, it's still not split down the middle, because who's going to stay home anyways if it is that they don't have enough capital or enough wealth to split? The woman gets sacrificed in that aspect. So it's kind of more difficult for us to step out. But nonetheless, I know a lot of female entrepreneurs that are kicking it, even in the engineering field, right? So at the end of it, I guess over time, we will see where it takes us. But we're evolving, and we're glad for the fact that today we are able to celebrate women, and are also able to celebrate some outstanding women that have made it into it.
All right, thank you so much for that. Coming back to John Law, but before there, later on, I'm looking to Lady Daly to give me some specifics as to the process of starting a business and what are some of the hurdles to look for, and also if there are any gender-based hurdles that you might have hit, then we want to hear about them and how you would have gotten past them. But coming back to Lady Law, I want to get more specific now as to the products, I shouldn't say products, but the processes that a person needs to go through to ultimately gain wealth. What are some of the things you need to look at, you need to have in your portfolio, you need to have in your plan for you to say, all right, I'm on this wealthy journey?
Okay, so again, I specifically specialize in international products, but I'm not going to go into that. Generally speaking, for the public, it's important for one to think about in terms of security. You're thinking of security. So I really offer peace of mind and security. So for one's portfolio, you should think about income replacement, just in case you're not able to work. There is an income coming in. You're thinking about family protection and estate preservation, and that has to do with life insurance. Life insurance also has to do with if you're purchasing a property, the financial institution is going to want some security, so you have to purchase life insurance for that. As I said, family protection. When you're talking about people buying life insurance for, it's something called key man insurance. So you're insuring the key persons in the business. So, you know, if they on their demise, then there is enough liquidity in the company for the company to to continue. In one's portfolio, I think you should consider whether local health insurance or international health insurance. Reason being, I mean, when one gets sick, right, you can just, all your income, your security, everything that you would have worked for over the years would just kind of go out in smoke, because you have sold everything, and you know, you're just not able to take care of yourself health-wise. So that is something that I think one should be aware of. Education for your children, pension, making sure that you set aside funds for 65 is the old age, but for the latter years, because I have seen so many persons who have retired, and that was, you know, they didn't deal with their old age in terms of pension, and they really suffer. The quality of life is not like they were accustomed to in terms of children, because they didn't have that in place. they're not able to send their children to university. So also it is important to start young, not to wait until you're in your 40s or late 30s. You start young. One, because usually when you're young, you're healthy, usually. And also when you're young, it's much less expensive than purchasing when you're older. So those are the reasons why one needs to start early. And that, I think, if all of this is in place, then you will be doing well and you will be living comfortably. But unfortunately, a lot of young persons, specifically like in their 20s, think that they have all the time to fool around, I guess, and not prioritize. And only when something happens that is traumatic, which I have found, that is when it comes to the forefront of their mind. So insurance, as I said, that's what I do, is very, very important to get to where you want to get to.
Thank you so much. I'm happy that you would have leaned in that direction, because I know most persons who would have come on the platform thinking about wealth, they think about one side of it. They think about, all right, my income, plus whatever business, whatever assets I might have that grow wealth. But they don't think about the fact that they need to protect that wealth. And if you don't have proper Kasika might. Hello, I'm not sure I have my husband. It would have jumped off and there. Paused it. I hope you can hear me. Or loud and clear. Yeah. Sorry, when you want to do all of this different internet excitement, it can go on you sometimes. But Lady Sophia Fraser-Bin, you would have started alluding to the fact that there are some legal ramifications to wealth management, to wealth holding, to the situation of being in a marital space. What are the things you need to look out for? Things like setting up a will and all of that. So would love for you to give us a better appreciation of your perspective on that side of things, that side of wealth, from a legal perspective. So, Lady Sophie, I'm not sure if I'm hearing somebody in the background. All right, maybe Lady Sophie, I got to stay.
Otis, are you hearing me?
Okay, you're here.
Right, so can you just repeat? I didn't hear the first part of your question.
Yeah, I was saying that there's legal ramifications to growing your wealth and to managing the wealth, especially when you have to include stuff like your will and estate planning, and even in the marital space, issues to do with getting wed and what your rights are and what are the things you need to look out for. So I'd love for you to touch on a couple of those for me.
All right, thanks for that, Otis. So I want to, if you'll allow me to just pick up where Janet left off, because so you have created your wealth. And the question is, what do you do with this wealth that you have created? And there are some persons who will advise you about trust, and I will not even attempt to advise you about setting up trust, because it is not an area that I specialize in. But there are also certain things that can be done to ensure that you protect your wealth. So the first thing, when clients come to me, for example, and they purchase real estate, so they purchase a property, the first thing I say to them is, how do you want it? If it's more than one person, how do you want a tenancy? Because it is so important that you understand that there are different types of tenancy and the implications there are. So you have, for example, your joint tenants and your tenants in common, and both of which have real implications. But there's also the issue of children. And if you have children, do you want to put them on the title? And what happens when you put a child on the title? And you also have to consider if you're going to get a mortgage, because if you're going to get a mortgage and the mortgage company very unlikely will allow you to put a child on the title. But also, once a child is placed on a title, there are implications for that child when that child becomes an adult and wishes to obtain his or her own home. But also, there are implications as to how you can treat with it. Because if you have a child on a property, then it limits your ability to deal with it. And you want the freedom of dealing with the property, because by owning real estate, you can do so many other things. You have a real estate, you can rent it, you can mortgage it, you can use it as a lien, as collateral for other investments. But when you have a child on it, then it limits what you can do. So those are some of the discussions that I have when I talk to people who are purchasing property. But also, we look at the issue of estate planning that will include wills, making wills. And when you're making a will, people generally say, but I'm so young, I'm not going to die. And people think
sorry to put you, lady Prince. There is somebody who's on mute that keeps jumping in. Is it Kenisha Barnett? Kenisha, you're on mute and it's showing off what I'm hearing. All right, thank you for that. Sorry about that, Lady Fraser.
No problem.
Jan?
Yes. So I'm saying that, so even when you're making a will, people tend to think that they're too young to make a will, or that if you make a will, you're going to die. And I always say, no, it is a smart act to do once you have any asset at all. In fact, even if you don't know that you have an asset, still make a will, because you may have somebody out there that has something to you that you don't know about, and it helps. But it's so important that people make a will, because you establish what is it that you want to take place after you die. And again, the tax implications are important, the financial implications are so important, and these are some of the things that go towards creation and the maintenance of wealth. Now, the other thing as well, which is perhaps a little sensitive, but it is becoming more and more commonplace, particularly among money people, is what we call prenup agreements. It is not unusual for persons, and I see a smile on Ms. Lord's face, it is not unusual for persons who have some amount of money, not just those who are comfortable, but those who have money, to do a prenup agreement, and it is something that is accepted by the courts in Jamaica. And in doing prenup agreement, what you do is you basically say, you know what, when you're before you get married, you're agreeing with your spouse that if there is a separation, this is how the assets are going to be divided. And that is so important, particularly because we now have what we call the Rights of Spouses Act, which legislates, for example, how matrimonial property should be dealt with and all of those things. And they're not new as in the last 2 or 3 years, but they are new developments in the last decade. Because prior to now, women didn't have that kind of rights at all. And women couldn't claim as a right to have an automatic interest in the matrimonial home. The Rights of Spouses Act have changed that completely. Men can claim it too, but it really does give some kind of protection to women who before would be the one with the less wealth. But the prenup agreement, for example, allows you to agree prior to marriage what is it how the assets will be shared. And it does has standing in the court of law. The other thing, when we talk about wealth and wealth creation and maintenance, is we also have to appreciate that even if you have a will, the moment you get married, that will becomes null and void. So, yes, for those of us, those of persons who are single and you have a will, the moment you find Mr. or Miss Right and decide to say I do, remember that that will has no validity, and it's important that you do over that will. And finally, as we talk about wealth creation and maintenance, and this is where I think I want to talk more about the maintenance of wealth, is and I don't want to say a divorce, but you do have separation, and part of the estate planning is to consider that the best of relationships will fall apart, whether it is going to be an actual marriage or it's a spousal relationship. And again, under the laws in Jamaica, once you're living together with somebody continuously for 5 years, you're deemed a spouse. And so you have equal rights as somebody who was actually wed. So that is important. But one of the things I've come across a lot is that couples are separated, but they did not take the step to have a formal divorce. And what happens there is that even though you could have been separated 20 years, the fact that you're never divorced, then under the law, you still have the right to that person's assets. I repeat, even if you've been separated for 20 years, once you haven't taken the step to be divorced, under the law, the person still have the right to your assets. In other words, you have 10 house and 20 and all these different policies, and you're separated, but you didn't change, for example, the life insurance, who would the beneficiary be. But it happens to be your ex-spouse, or you did not take his name off a property, or even the property is in your name, the fact that he is your spouse, he's entitled to 50% of the real estate if there's not a will. You need to be conscious of these things, because if it is that having separated mentally, you also want to ensure that he does not benefit from your assets, you have to take that extra step to do the legal paperwork so that he does not benefit. And I think that's probably a bit now to digest, and I'll come again later and take some more questions.
Wow, I tell you, Lady Beans, you've been speaking, and every time you say something, you make me want to jump in, because there's so much more I want to know. Let me ask the members, though, who are online. We have a section where we'll be asking the panelists your questions. So don't think it's just Otis here going to ask all the questions. The next segment will include you asking questions. So I see a couple of questions placed in the chat. So I'm asking you from now. Put your questions there. Later on, your panelists will try their best to speak to them. There's one question that I want some clarity on. There's a term joint tenancy. That's different from, what do you call it? Tenancy in common?
Tenancy in common.
I need us to fully appreciate the difference between those two things, because most of us are buying property with spouse or with girlfriend, boyfriend, aka couple up, because NHT has that structure now where you can join with other people and have the property. So I need us to fully appreciate what it is that we are getting involved in, and later on I want to touch on that. Lady Daly, Kafika Daly, I'm just blown away so much by the legalities of wealth. Lady Daly, I'd love for you to come back in and give me some of that procedure, and as I mentioned earlier, some of the hurdles that you might have faced in your journey so far, and how to get past some of them, because that's what this seminar is all about, the webinar is about, how to truly step into your wealthy journey in a way that you can get to some of your hopes and dreams. So, Lady Daly. I'm not hearing you yet. I'm not sure if you're... Oh, I'm not hearing you. You're muted. Sorry, you're muted.
Yes. All right. So I know you wanted me to speak in respect to an entrepreneur, right? But let me state this categorically to everybody that is here, that you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be wealthy, right? And the other persons are going to speak to that. So when you leave here after I speak to you, right, you have to decide whether that entrepreneurship is yours and it's something that you want to go after, right? Because a lot of us nowadays, because there are so many motivational speakers, we think that, okay, our 9 to 5 cannot bring us that wealth. Yes, it can take a level, but 9 to 5 and investment can make you wealthy. Now, when I started out, one of the main hurdles, and when you start out in entrepreneurship, one of the main hurdles that you're going to have to overcome is that first step, which is the mental hurdle. You know, whether can I do it or can I not do it? People have failed what people say to you, what people say about you, and you just literally naysayers, right? And all I'm saying to you is that you have to be intrinsically motivated to get to that point where you can say, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it. And when I say intrinsically motivated, a lot of persons, when you talk to them, they say, okay, I believe I can do it. But in a different sense, when I speak, I say, I know I can do it. And one of the ways I was able to get over that hurdle, moving from a belief to knowing, is actually being educated, right? So you find that as a hotelier owning a travel agency, I have a first degree in hospitality and tourism management. And as an engineer owning a construction and engineering company, I have a degree in engineering. Now, you don't have to do that, but you have to get to the point where you don't say, oh, I believe I can do it, and you move to where I know I can do it by getting some form of certification, not because you're going to do it yourself, but because they need to know enough to convince yourself that, you know what, this is what you're going to do and you're going to be successful at it because others have already done it, right? And that is the first thing to wealth creation. After that, then, you know, you have to just focus on your clients because you can't work for money, right? Wealth and money walk hand in hand, you know. And a lot of people say, okay, and I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to the point where you have money and having wealth and making the differentiating between those, right? You can't work for money. I will tell you that I don't work for money. I work to earn a profit, right? I work to earn money. If you're working for money, you're captivated by money. You're controlled by money. So you do anything that is unethical and so forth in order to attain that. And when you attain wealth that way, it is not sustainable because eventually you just lose it, right? As well. So in that regards, right, all I'm saying is this. When you get that know-how to and you step forward, right, and you decide to do it, and you put together a team because no man is an island. And a lot of us will say, okay, we're self-made. I will never say that because I have team members that dedicate themselves. I have team members that get up before me. I have team members that sometimes go to bed after, right? And if I look at myself and say, oh, you know what, I didn't get help, I didn't get the monetary help, I did that, I didn't say, okay, I'm self-made, and I'm just like, figuring out what they've done. So you need to find the right team, right? And if you decide to do this quickly, one of the things that can ruin you and can pose a challenge, and because I've done all my business ventures by myself, I have not had that challenge. But I know if you decide to go with a partner, you can have a challenge. Because if you don't choose the right partner, that partner can actually pull you back, right? So one of the key challenges that you have to overcome is choosing the right partner to do business with, right? Once you get that out of the way, you're good to go. Once you start focusing on your clients and not on making money, right, then you're going to find that with your client retention base, you're automatically going to earn wealth. When I started out and was doing it, I was just literally just so customer oriented because I'm from a hotel background. So my core focus from learned behavior is to be customer oriented. And I remember when I saw the money starting coming in and I'm like, oh wow. Because people are out there, they literally like marketing for me. And I wasn't doing any big marketing or Otis. I was just literally there just doing business. But because I was so customer oriented, it just started coming in. And then I got the best advice. Right, so after you started getting money, you start wondering, what should I do with it? Right? And I know Miss Law can tell you that we can help you invest. And she's right. You need to plan. Miss Sophia telling you why you need to plan. But I remember walking into JMB in St. Anne. And I told the gentleman, you know what? I have some money and I need to invest. I have to do bonds and I need to stocks and everything. And he says, I'm not going to take your money. He told me that with having a business, your best way of getting wealth and getting wealthy is to reinvest that money in the business. right? And I walked out there and I was like a totally different person because I started reinvesting everything. Because every single time I made more money, I reinvested and I started making more money, right? So money started working for me. So at one point I was literally doing business. I'm not seeing my money because my money was out there just working, and it comes in larger, but it goes out same time, right? And then after that, I mean, you realize that everything gets easier because I was able to hire a team, a proper team. And with teamwork, the work gets lighter. And from that, I was able to branch out into engineering. So to tell you the truth, a lot of my challenge, or a lot of the challenges person might face, I never had because I was customer oriented and I listened to my customer. So I'd ask them, what can I do better? How was your hotel stay? Is there anything that any advice you have for me? And with that, I build my business around my customers and not around what others might say about whether or not my potential. But then at the end of the day, too, is that if you are so good and create a track record of being good and great in whatever field you're in, persons no longer question you. Right? You can tell somebody you want to be a surgeon tomorrow and they did say, okay, yes, because you have a track record of being good. So you have to get to the point that where you're so good that nobody questions you, right? And it makes your life so easier when you're doing business, right? In respect to like challenges that I face in this time to like being a female in the industry, I will tell you now. And hear me out, right? As I said before, I have a track record of being great at whatever I did, right? So nobody really questioned me. But the key, and I should not probably say this on International Women's Day, was that I've never gone into any field as a female. I've always gone into every single field, in every business venture, as a specialist in a particular field. So my degree does not say female civil engineer. It says civil engineer, and I operate as such. I take up space as a civil engineer, right? And I don't entertain the discussion because being a female is just a bonus, you know. It's a bonus. It's a bonus where I get to look good. I like to look amazing while being an awesome engineer. But the core of me is to prove that I am a great engineer. And once I've done that, I find that nobody even questions whether or not, you know, I have the capability, whether or not this person is so emotional because she's a woman and so forth. Because I do not operate in any business space as if, you know what, you know, I'm just a female and I'm coming here with a chip on my shoulder because I want to be a female. I want to be a great female hotel. I want to be a great female civil engineer. No, I don't. And you, in order for you to be great and in order for nobody to approach you as such, you have to automatically come in knowing that one, you can do it, one, you have invested time to learn about it, two, knowing that you're going to stand up as a specialist in your field, right? And knowing that three, despite whatever challenges might come your way, you're going to handle it because you're a specialist, right? So even if somebody have a little doubt as to whether or not as a female you can manage it, they cannot say to you because you have a track record of doing good. And I've said that multiple times in less than a minute, that you must have a track record of doing good because that is going to alleviate majority of the issues that you have. People will not question you. And because of that, person will support you. And one of the greatest ways to get to wealth is actually have the support. Now, you have two types of wealth. And I talk about this all the time. You have the wealth now that is cash, and you have generational wealth. You have to determine which kind of wealth that you want to ascertain. Some people just want to make a lot of money so that they can enjoy this life. And it's okay because it is your time here on this physical plane, right? But if you want to create generational wealth, then you have to listen to persons like Miss Law. You have to listen to persons like Miss Sophia, and you have to now invest in revenue streams that are sustainable. For instance, the real estate. I invest in real estate, right? And prior to COVID, And Otis, I'm going to take one for the team, because normally I don't talk about my finances at all, right? But I think I owe you guys this much, right? Now, prior to COVID, I thought I was wealthy, right? I had physical cash. And when COVID hit, I got hit directly as a hotelier, as a travel agent person. Hotels closed down. But the good thing about it was that the same year in 2020, I graduated from UTech with a civil engineering degree. And I was like, okay, all right, let me get into another sustainable industry. And that's something that you're going to find that it's a word that I'm going to speak all the time, sustainable. Because I can do business as long as it's sustainable. I don't have to love it, right? It just needs to be something that is a sustainable field. So I ventured out into construction. And when I realized that cash wealth was not the right way, was when I went to the bank during COVID, and they was like, no, not at this time. Before COVID, your cash meant something, but now, no, where are your physical assets, right? So since then, I started building on my portfolio of assets, because to me, you realize the real essence of wealth, that it has to be something that appreciates and something that can stand the true test of time, like for generations. And if you're building generational wealth, then you have to build something that is sustainable, that even in the next 10, 15, 20 years, when everything crashes, that asset is still standing. And that's what I learned during COVID period, right? So you have to determine what kind of wealth do you want. At the end of the day, it is your life. You get to do what you want, right? But if it is generational wealth that you want, you have to look into sustainable streams of income, right? And you have to ensure that you get the right professional advice. And you also have to ensure that you know what you're doing. So even if you're going to go to Otis or Miss Law or anybody from Sagicor, right? Because now we're only investing with Sagicor, right? Anybody from Sagicor, you have already had the knowledge or the basic knowledge. So when they advise you, you can logically say that, you know what, I want to do this. But going to a financial advisor, we see what is happening with Usain Bolt and everybody. God forbid I said it. Yes, I did. Right? But not knowing is not good enough. So in investing with anybody, friend, mother, husband, you have to know the basics so that the decision that you made is not one that somebody just hands to you, but one that you can look and say, okay, you know what, this is actually good enough for me, right? And that will just eliminate a lot of your challenges. So, Otis, I'm sorry I can't tell you that, apart from the regular business operational challenges that I might have, that have had any major hindrance in my journey, apart from COVID, because I've always created a track record of excellence, so people just don't normally question me in respect to whether or not I can do something.
All right, thank you so much, Kasika. I know when we would have publicized this presentation, a couple of persons would have messaged me personally to say, I want to start a business. I want to hear how that is that business, because, it seems like it is impossible. It seems like it is out of my logical mind. And as we are really transitioning now into taking some questions from members who are logged in, I'm still hearing a bit of muffle in the background. So if you're not muted, please mute. But as we transition into that segment, I got some nuggets a while ago that just give me goosebumps. Fearless. Scared money don't make money. If you don't plan to use your money and go there and do something major, then it don't make sense. And don't make Janet laugh fool you. Janet Law is a hotelier too. I'm going to tell you how this is. Janet Law is a businesswoman too. All right, and of course, Sophia has her business as well, has her profession. So we're not just talking about people who are employed, but people who are willing to go out there and employ people to do the work. And if you're not mentally there, then I believe you're not mentally ready to be wealthy. Yes, I said it to one Vex. If you're not willing to move past your fears, then you're not ready to be wealthy. There are 3 elements that we use to put together our wealth. And I use the word wealth here loosely because the truth is if you have to be working for your wealth, you're not wealthy. But at least your income can help you to get to a wealthy state. So there are 3 things. Unless somebody gives it a charity or you're going to do something untoward about it. And yes, we like when the white elephant is mentioned. So it's some people doing some stuff on the right for the money. But if you're not going to be doing any of those 2 things, then there are only 3 ways. It's by you earning, firstly, but it cannot stop there. You have to then invest in property that does one of 2 things or both things at the same time. It's either growing in equity, meaning that the value of the property, and the property doesn't just mean a piece of land or a house. You can buy a business that grows in value. You can buy an antique car, a painting that grows in value. So that's one element of growing your wealth. Having the assets that you buy grow in value, so that is equity. And the other part of it is return on investment. That business that you've invested in, it is actually giving you another income. So it's different from the equity. This is an income. So the taxi that you put on the road, that's giving you an income. Plus the property that you buy, that is growing in value. Now, where the 2 things, where one investment can be both, which is why real estate is so popular, is that you can buy a house today, rent it out, you're getting income from the rent, which is one way of increasing your wealth, plus it is growing in value over time. So what it valued last year is not what it valued this year. If it go up in value by $1 million, it means you're $1 million wealthier. You get me? So I want us all to wrap it around our minds that there are different elements of growing your wealth and cannot be just getting a very good job and earning more and more each year. No, that is not wealthy. That is not wealthy. That is a means. I always tell people, from even my agents, this is that thing we call salary. It's a beautiful thing because we can carry to the bank and help with to do something that actually makes you wealthy. But the salary itself can't make you wealthy. So I tell you, you excite me a while ago, ladies, with some of what you would have mentioned, and even some sacrifices and just things that you need to put in place. Lady Beans, in regard to the wills, I know some questions coming, but I like the fact that we are having the conversation about having an agreement before marriage as to what will happen if marriage will last. One of my fundamental concerns is that marriage is a contract, and in every contract, if them tell you how we're going to terminate the contract, we don't plan to terminate it, you know. But just in case, if you're going into a partnership, how will the partnership be terminated if we have to terminate? But a marriage contract don't have that. So I believe it's only right that we make these decisions from before, so that in the emotional side of separation, it don't cause problems. We already decide how we're going to do the separation if separation happens, so we just follow suit. But I'm so happy to hear some of the nuggets a while ago. So I hear that I saw a couple of questions popping up directly and through the chat. I know one of them that I got is coming to Lady Sophia Fraser-Baines in respect to will. Who manages the will? Who you leave the will with? How that will process handled? And I know our time is very short, but we're going to try to cover as many of the questions as possible. So, Lady Fraser-Baines.
Thank you, Otis, and thanks for that question. Now, before I answer that specific question, just let me say that when you're doing a will, you need to first identify 2 key sets of persons. One is the executor. The executor is the person who really steps into your shoe and undertakes the things that are listed in the will. And usually we say to clients, choose somebody who's a family friend, perhaps a beneficiary, because as you know, the executor gets 6% of the value of the estate. So you kind of want to make sure that as much as possible, beneficiaries, that which the beneficiary should get is not taken out by way of fees, because of course you have to pay the lawyer fee, you have to pay the government of Jamaica their fees by way of death duties. So you have your executor. And the second category of person that you must have will be your witnesses, and your witnesses should be two persons who should sign at the same time. Now, again, the witness should not be a beneficiary or the spouse of a beneficiary. So your witness should not be a beneficiary or the spouse of a beneficiary. Once you have executed that will, the best person to keep it will be the person you trust the most. And I want to believe that if you're going to call John Brown to be an executor, then John Brown would be the person you trust the most. And so it is advisable that you give that will to John Brown, who is the executor. There's nothing to prevent the attorney from keeping it. However, the best thing to do would be to give it to the executor, or at least if you have your attorney, you can give it to your attorney or to someone who you trust, or you can keep it somewhere, even on a lock and key, keep it somewhere, but you relay that information to somebody who you trust. And finally, as you're talking about wills, is that if the executor dies, it is useful if you only have one named executor to redo a will, to do a new will. But also, if beneficiaries have died, it is also recommended that you do a new will to replace the beneficiaries. I mean, the will is not going to fail if the executor dies before the testator, that is the person who's making the will, or if any of the beneficiaries should die before. So it will not be void, but it just makes it easier for administration purposes that the will is amended if possible.
Thank you so much. There's a question, I'm believing this one is coming from financial advisor. So, Lady Law, it is directed to you. What are the types of questions that you should expect to be asked? A financial advisor sits with you. What are the things that you must be prepared to answer? You are speaking to a financial advisor.
Otis, could you repeat it, because you were breaking in and out? Could you repeat the question again, please?
Oh, sorry. The direct question is, what are some of the questions can you expect to be asked if you're about to speak to a financial advisor?
Okay. So the first thing for me is that I never start an interview without a fact finder. So there's a fact-finding questionnaire. I always say to the to the client that everything that we discuss is confidential, and I always ask permission. Do you mind me asking a couple of questions? And I'll ask them about their family. I ask them about their priorities in terms of life, in terms of education for their children. Is this a priority for you on a scale of 1 to 10? How do you view insurance? And I not only ask questions, but I want feedback. So when I ask about how do you view insurance, and a person says, well, I really don't like insurance. And then I say, why? Why you don't like insurance? Or why did you give it on a scale of 1 to 10, you only gave it 3? So you start to interact with the client, and what that does is that it makes both of you comfortable, because you're getting to know the person. So my fact finder isn't lengthy. It lasts about 15 minutes. Sometimes it goes on to half an hour, and that is good because you're getting the person to be very comfortable with you. So these are the questions about their insurance, about their health, if they have liabilities, if you have mortgages, do you own your own home? Do you have health insurance? Do you have life insurance? And then I go through on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. How do you score these concerns? So the most important thing again is to be very interactive and to be very comfortable, to be yourself, which is really, really important, to be yourself and to be apart from being yourself, you see, the most important thing for me with a client is for them.
No, we can choose the instrument. Get on with it. You know what I mean?
Somebody just came in. Someone unmuted themselves. Hello? I'm not sure who it is. Claudette Barrett. Claudette Barrett, you unmuted and jumped in. Claudette? Yeah. All right, sorry about that, Janet.
No problem. So I think the most important thing with clients, to answer your question, is to be sincere, not to be fake, just to be sincere and to be yourself and to get them to warm up to you. And that's how you do it, not just start shooting all kinds of questions and then it makes them uncomfortable. So the most important thing is to make your clients comfortable or your prospective persons comfortable. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because I said the question actually came from a financial advisor themselves.
Well, you could ask her if I answered the question.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, okay.
Lady Daly, the question was asked much earlier. Let's say that the first 5 things in the process, or the top 5 things in the process to start your business. Somebody wanted to know, maybe they're ready to start a business now. So what are the first 5 processes you got through to get to the point, or the most important 5 you got to get to the point of starting a business? Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So the first thing you want to do is come up with a plan, right? I know most of us would know about business plan, but I don't use a business plan because it's tedious and it can take a lot of time. And one of the things that can cripple you is when something gets too cumbersome, then for you, it just deter you, right? But so I use a business canvas. So you guys can Google templates for business canvas. Banks are now taking business canvas. So you don't have to go in detail with all the business plan, right? So the business canvas literally helps you break down every single aspect of it. And then what I do as well is from fifth form, I've been doing SWOT analysis. So I look at the idea that I have, look at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats, right? So I therefore do also an analysis of myself, right? So you do analysis of the idea that you have, you do analysis of yourself. Reason why you're wanting to do that is because you need to see whether or not you are compatible with the idea that you have. Because sometimes you might see somebody doing something and we say, oh yes, I can do that. Let me get that. But then when you start, you realize that you're not motivated to do it. You realize that you don't have the skill set to do it. You realize that you don't have the money to do it. You realize that you don't even have the know-how to do it. So you have to do a SWOT analysis of yourself and align it with the business SWOT analysis, right? After that, then you basically do the registration of the business once you get the know-how, right? And I will always say, always get the know-how, because even if it's not for you to do it, it's for you to know how to do it. So that if you give your business idea to somebody, sell it to somebody or a team of persons, if they're messing it up, you know that they're messing it up, right? And then you go to registration. The company's office, whether or not you go inside or on the website, it is very friendly. They have persons who can walk you through. Once you go at the front desk at company's office, they will literally tell you what it is that you need to get done, which documentation that you need to register the business with, and they will help you. So even if you don't know, if you decide to register a company, a lot of persons will deter from registering a company because the registration fee is like $24,500 compared to a business name registration, which is $3,500. But then you also have the complication. If you register a business, then you're liable for any losses that the business incurs, compared to if you're protected under the company. Now, if you go to the company's office, they will help you. They will talk you through how to assign shares and everything. So you literally just need to walk in and ask somebody for help, and they will guide you. After that, it's just implementation. Whether or not you have the funding or you're going to get the funding from the banks. You have banks like IDB that will fund startup, right? And you have sometimes NCB will assist you with funding startup. But for majority of the bank, they need you to at least be in business between like 2 years for you to get funding. So if it is that you have this great business idea, one of the key things for you to do is to determine where you're going to get the funding from. And that is why I tell some persons that sometimes you need to stay in your 9 to 5 and start that business. Right? Because your 9 to 5, as Otis said, rightly said, can fund your business. Like, just get up out of your 9 to 5 and walk go to a business. It's rough. Entrepreneurship is rough. Not being able to take care of family is rough. Not being able to buy your food is rough, and it is deterrent. And sometimes you will sit, and the process to success is harder. It's difficult. It's tenuous because you don't have that financial support. And a lot of times, it's not that our idea failed. It's just our means and resources fail, so that the business just collapse. I would say, okay, then you know what, this venture failed. No, it didn't. You just never secure your funding, right? And things just get hard, and you have to run back, right? So I would say ensure that you have proper funding to secure your grand idea, right? Because sometimes motivation and a little registration document just really don't work out. And after that, then you get the right person. You have to take the time to select the right team. And I'll say this all the time, and I say it all the time. When hiring, I may say, okay, I need a quantity survey. Like, no, we're looking for a quantity survey. But I'm not rushing, because at the end of the day, I'm not desperate. I need to find the right person for my team. Because one of the worst things that can happen is for you to have a team that is not working for you.
Definitely.
It is working against you, right? And then everything just fails. So, as I said, one, get your business canvas together, do your SWOT analysis both on yourself and on the business, and align them. Know your strengths, know your personal strengths, know your personal weaknesses, right? And even if you don't decide to do a business, constantly do a SWOT analysis on yourself, right? That way, right? Because one of my greatest strengths is that I know my weaknesses. So because I know my weaknesses, I know I don't like documenting, like mundane documentation. So I hire a person for that. If it is that, I go ahead and I indulge in it, then you know what, all right, you feel as if you're failing, you don't want to do this anymore, and then your business plan just chop it up. That's because you never assessed yourself and know that this wouldn't work for you. So that you can hire somebody to do that. So you have to do a SWOT analysis on yourself, do a SWOT analysis on your business. Then you do your registration once it pans out. But there are companies that also does business analysis that you can hire to say, hey, I have this idea, will it work in today's climate, right? And they can go ahead and they can do the market research for you and then provide you with that at cost, right? But it's worth it if you decide to go that avenue. After which, once you decide to do that, then you ensure that you register your business and select the right team. And just market yourself to everybody. But one of the key things after doing all of this, and not to get deterred, demotivated, is to remember that nobody owes you any favor in business. Nobody owes you the right. Nobody owes you support. Nobody owes you. No staff owes you loyalty. Nobody owes you anything, right? You have to work for it, and it takes a lot out of you. But if you know you can do it, and I'm not saying if you believe, if you know you can do it, right, you will get it done and will be very beneficial to you.
Definitely. I thank you for every point, but that last point hit the nail for Mr. Till, because all of us believe that the minute you start a business, all the contacts in the phone will be there buying. We'll be glad to jump on and start shopping and participating. And it's the biggest error we can have in life. Believing because we have a lot of people follow us on IG, then we're all right. We're all right to start a business. And some more questions popping in. But before there, I have to go to one of the questions I'm seeing about, before that though, Business Canvas. Is that a website? Is that a web tool? I don't know it. Sorry, I don't want to get past it without clearing it up. Is it something we can just Google Business Canvas so we can find something pop up? Miss Daly? I know she might be drinking some water. When we come back, when you come back, Miss Derek, I know you might be having some water. But I want to get some detail on that business canvas thing. The first I hear about it. Balancing family and funds. I'm going to throw this one first to Janet Lord, then Sophia Fraser-Baines. How is that working out? Because Janet has spoke to you about 10:30 last night and you're at the office. So how that work?
Balancing family and what you said, Otis?
Funds. The process of making your money.
Okay.
We're having a little issue with Kasika, but she's going off to come back on. So Janet and Sophia, how we balance the family and the money?
Okay, initially, I just like to go back a little. Initially, it wasn't so balanced for me because I had my son in high school, and I wanted to focus on him because, family is important. So the business aspect of my life was placed on hold for a little. Okay, fast forward now, back to last night. I had a lot of work to do, and I had to get it done. Fortunately, we're an empty nester, so all the kids are gone. So in terms of family, I do try to, when I'm home, I do try. It's very, very difficult, by the way. I'm sure Sophia and everybody else will attest to that. In terms of when you're home, it's almost like you can't help talking about work. But I have to be very conscious because sometimes it will get on my husband's nerves, who is also in insurance. All we do is talk about insurance. But in terms of balance, what I do is try to have kind of like date nights. Try to, so we go out for a drink or we go to dinner or we just spend time at home just chatting. For me, my work, my job is extremely important. This is something that I absolutely love. So my clients are also extremely important. So I have to try to balance. Because I do international health, you find that I'm always on call. And fortunate and unfortunate, I always have to have on my phone because if somebody is sick, I have to be available, right? But generally speaking, it is important to have some balance and to have some time, not only for your immediate family, but also for your extended family, your parents, people who mean something to you, your friends. So the most important thing, I think, is being organized. One has to be organized in terms of your life. And I think that's where it ends and begins, because we have to be organized with our lives, but we have to also be making money and having our commitments met. So it is something that sometimes some aspects of your life, well, in terms of me, suffer a little in terms of family because of the commitment I have, but it is something that is extremely important to balance.
Thank you so much. I have the good Senator Sophia Fraser-Baines. Remember, this is an active politician who has to go to Senate, who is not just a senator, but she is an opposition spokesperson on quite a many topics, as well as she's a practicing attorney. Plus, if that wasn't enough, she not just have a husband, but 2 young boys. So I am seeing this as mission impossible. That's why I leave it to the last. How is that working out for you? How you still have hair on your head?
It's not working out, Otis, as you can see. It's not working out at all. Something has to give. So for me, what it really boils down to is just time management. That's really what it is, because sometimes I wish I had more hours in my day. But within all of that, you have to know what's most important. And I'm going to say it here that the most important thing to me is my family. Not the politics, not the work, my family. And because of that, there are certain rules I live by. So, for example, I don't take homework, at least legal work. You know, the politics is 24 hours, but I don't take home legal work. If something has to be done, then I'll work late and I'll get it done. But once I go home, it is family time. The greatest thing that I have done is I have this my own, and, you know, sensitive to other people's reality. I am saying this, that my own reality tells me that going on my own was the best thing I can do if I needed to achieve the best out of all my worlds. Because working in a 9 to 5, you are limited, because not every employer is understanding in terms of you need time to pick up the kids and go to activities, that kind of stuff. So going on my own and setting up my own business was in fact a good decision that has helped me a lot. So my typical day is get the kids out to school by 8 and I'm in office by 8:30 most mornings. And I work consistently between 8:30 and 2. Because I know when 2 o'clock comes, I may not be able to come back into office, you know, because it's picking up kids, you know, I'm just taking them to do different activities, and before you know it's night and you have homework and sleepy time, and the cycle continues. But also what helps is just having a good support base. If you have a good support base, and I'm not talking about like a nanny or help, I'm talking about even just extended family and friends. When you have a good support base, it helps. Because when you can pick up the phone and say, I'm one late, can you pick up John or can you pick up Sue? Then it helps a lot. When you have a grandmother who you can leave the kids with, you know, talk about date night. In my early days of having children, boy, date night was something I wished for. It just never happened because there wasn't that kind of support base. But as, you know, you expand your circle and the children get a little older, then you're able to have time for your spouse. And I want to say something as well, Otis, because we talk about wealth, but initially I said health is also wealth. Because one of the things you find is that we tend, and this is not unique to women, but because we are so, generally, women are so caught up with their children and they want to prioritize their children and make the best for their children, that sometimes we really don't spend the kind of time in our relationships. And it is so important that as we talk about wealth, we talk about the health part of it, which is the healthy relationships, because a healthy relationship also impacts on your ability to be the best at work. It impacts on your ability to be the best mom, your best sister, your best auntie. So that is also important. So you, in our own time management, we have to find a time where it's going to be a date night or a quick lunch. Then we have to find a time for that growth and that development and continued development in our spousal relationship. And just honesty. You just have to be honest. I mean, there are times when I've just had to say, so for this one I had to say, so and again I'm blessed because I share offices with my husband, and I said to him, listen, between 9 and 11 I am out of commission because I have something to do, because Otis has asked me and I'm going to be committing, so I'm out of commission. They have that kind of honest conversation, and you say, this is what you're going to need to do for me today because I just don't have the time. And I find that openness and communication helps a lot, and it gives us the opportunity to meet each other where they are, including our children. So, for example, you know, my son said to me yesterday, he wants a cheese patty and cocoa bread. And let me tell you, I was trying to get that cheese patty and cocoa bread, and he would not relent. So much so that at the end of the day, when we reached Sugar and Spice, Sugar and Spice is closed because of the traffic. And he was not happy, and I had to sit him down and explain to him that based on everything that was happening, I just could not get it. But I committed Pinky Swear to get it for him today. And he understands. He understands that Mommy had to go to work, so Mommy just could not do it. But Mommy promises that she's going to do it today, and I'm going to get it done for him today. So that kind of communication helps as well, because, you know, they may be young, but children are very understanding. And I always say to them, talk to your children. Don't shout at them. Don't beat them. Talk to them because they understand. And when you sit and you talk to them, Mommy can't come to this activity today, but she's going to be at the next one. They understand. And when you make that promise, you commit to it and you stick to it, because nothing is going to break their little heart more than you breaking that promise. And I think all of those, the time management, the support system, and just open communication has helped. It's not perfect, but it has really helped in me being able to spend quality time with not just the children, but also with my husband and my extended family. Yes.
I felt the aha moments a while ago. A couple persons shared. I felt the aha moments a while ago, but it is amazing that it is possible. Firstly, it is amazing it's possible for you to do all this. It might not work and fit perfectly initially. I know a couple of my agents who live every day wonder how they're going to do everything and still be a mother, still be a husband, still be a father, whatever. And I'm very happy.
If I may just interject, one of the things that has helped me a lot is I write down everything. I mean, I literally write down everything. And, I have a book here right on my desk, and I write down everything that I'm supposed to do. And at the end of the day, I tick off what I've accomplished, and then try to carry over for the next day. So that has also helped. It's not perfect, but it has helped a lot.
But it helps. Well, I have a couple more questions, but I can't hold you much longer because as you mentioned a while ago, I asked you guys for 9 to 11, and now we're 2 minutes over. So there's some quick housekeeping that needs to be done, but I'm going to squeeze in a last question though. But before the last question, one of the persons online, I would have put in the chat email address. There are some persons, nurses, and some other professions who would have wanted to have the CE, the continued education hours. I want you to send an email to that email address, and the reason why we mention it now, because I want to make sure these persons will stay on. I know we have had at least 120 persons who was on for the whole time. I want, if you would need the credits, then send something to us. We'll be generating those certificates. And secondly, look out for a workshop. This is a presentation. We'll be having a workshop pretty soon where we're going detail to have persons go through the different practices, put together different programs and information to ensure that your wealth journey starts now. Because it's all good and well to hear the information and be inspired, but to take action, some persons are still not sure. ABC. Kasika might have mentioned stuff like the SWOT analysis and making a smart plan. We'll be doing that in detail at that workshop. So prepare for that. So just in closing, I want to throw out there CME hours. Yes, sorry, CME, not CE. Just to close out, I see a question pop up, and I want you guys on the top of your head. If we're supposed to step into a source to start generating and building your wealth, off the top of your head, Lady Janet, what would it be? You have a little money coming in, you have a little income, but of course, as I said, income is not wealth. Well, I see people mention it in the chat. Please send it to the email. Send your address, send your message to the email, the Vikings Advisors @gmail.com. I have it in the chat, so just send email to that one. So yeah, back to you, Lady Janet Law. Off the top of your head, I'm saving a little money, but we know the money I'm not earning anything because it's not even enough to be in sync with the inflation. So we know the money in the bank not going to earn anything. We know the income not enough for you to say it makes you wealthy. What would I be able to put a little money in or start directing my plans and income towards that you think might make a person wealthy?
Well, you heard me. Okay, so I don't want to be biased, but I have to be biased. We personally at Law and at Sagicor too have investment portfolios that it's on a monthly basis as little as maybe $150 a month or $100 a month, and that gives you guaranteed income. It also gives you non-guaranteed income, but you will never lose your principal. So I will always say the way to go is insurance personally, because we offer everything. We offer, in terms of even the life insurance, it has an investment portion. And not because I'm talking about US guys, you're thinking that it's a lot of money. It's not, and a lot is relative. But it's it's comparable to all the other local companies and sometimes less. So the investment portion of your life insurance policies generates a lot of interest, by the way, and or savings options with Lloyd's of London.
You heard it from the lady who is the boss of Lloyd's of London sales in Jamaica and maybe across the world, about our sales that she's having. Sophia, from what you've seen from your experiences from friends, family, and of course self, because all they say not wealthy, I know your household is building on wealth. So what would you tell somebody to think about? And I will throw in one too, but what would you advise the average person right now to step towards or to look towards?
Two things. One is, and I'm not a financial advisor, but thanks to you, Otis, and the many years of guiding me, there are two things I always say to persons. One is, it doesn't matter how small it is, just start with something, because everything adds up. You may not have a big take-home salary, but even $2,000 or $1,000 a week will make a big difference in the long run. And the second thing, which is what I've always said to them, is, things change in a second. Get a critical illness. I have seen firsthand how people's lives have just changed from having to not having because of a car accident. And so it is something that I'm very big on in terms of critical accident insurance. And I'm putting that plug here, Otis, for all the many years of advice you have given me. So those really was what I would say. And that, those are the things that I say even to my junior level staff. Just get something done. It doesn't have to be big, however small, just make that start and you can build on it. So.
All right, well, now that the two persons have spoken in that realm, after going another direction, Janet, you want to throw something in there before I go, because I can't come back with the insurance part. So, Janet, that's your hand up.
So I just wanted to say this, and I should have said it before. This has nothing to do with your question, Otis, because I know we're wrapping up. But for women, for everybody basically, I think it's very, very important in terms of wealth to have drive, to have a goal. I didn't say that before, but we can't be wealthy. We can't start to make good money if we don't have a goal. We just say, oh, we want to do this. And we also have to have a timeline. But I think most importantly, one needs to have drive. One needs to focus on, what do I really want to achieve this year? We don't have to say what we want to achieve in the next 10 or 5 years. What do I want to achieve this year? And I need to start now. But a lot of it, sometimes we're just very laid back and think that we can't achieve. And just like Sophie said, just start with a little. We want to build, just start. Because if we don't start, then nothing will ever happen. So that's my point that I wanted to make.
I love that. So I'm going to throw something in the hat in respect to just what it takes to take yourself to the next level wealth-wise. I know everybody knows that they must save, but the instrument might not be a very strong instrument. You heard Janet speak earlier about putting your money away in some instruments that actually earn. From as a child, I grew up with my aunt who used to show me that. So every time her money in our life insurance investment part go to a certain point, you move it to somewhere else and make it extra more money and whatever. I would advise that you do something like that. Even if it's not through insurance, if it's through even equities, buying stocks, you keep on putting small amounts on a monthly basis and you set a benchmark. So like you decide, as soon as I reach 100,000, I'm going to use that 100,000 to do something major. I'm going to move it to something that can earn much more. If you want to move it to the point of you're going to start investing in real estate, maybe you can't invest in real estate directly, but you can buy it into some private equities that is invested in real estate. Somebody building an apartment complex and say, all right, you can buy into the prospects of it. These things are out there. These things are possible. Hotels have the same type of deals, a lot of them. You'll be surprised, and Asika will tell you, there are a lot of hotels out there that you can buy into a sort of partnership in owning the hotel without you even selling the rooms, you know. But the truth is there's those possibilities out there that as long as you have a little bit of money, but you need a little money to buy. So you save the money little, and then you grab that and move it over. So we're talking about investments that don't stress you out, mutual funds, unitized funds that it don't mean you ever sit down and watch your computer every day to see which stuff go up and which stuff go down. You know, you have people sitting down doing that for you, but you just tag on to them coattail so that when they're moving with you. So these are some stuff that, and I see Roxanne asking about where are these opportunities. You have to go come back, Roxanne, for the workshop, because the workshop will go in a lot of details and all of these things. But even before then, talk to a financial advisor. Talk to me, talk to Janet. We know we used to it. I know Sophia is exposed. I know Cass is exposed to all of those in detail. But if you talk to Cass, she will tell you, say, she's building another apartment soon. I know she's always close to building another complex. So she might be willing to take some investments from you so that she can move forward even faster. But definitely I'm happy. I enjoyed. I appreciate the time when you have these wealthy ladies willing to come on and spend them time. I am so happy and appreciative of it and look forward to the next time we can have some interaction. Special thanks to all the members who would have participated on the first floor of lockdown. And of course to my production team, to thank Jai for Jamaica Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors to be the facilitators. And to thank my friend Dennis Hall. So all of the emails I get, all the flyers, Dennis Hall, we have put it together. In the background here, I have Maurice, who is here. Maurice Watson helping me to make that. And of course, Keisha would have been, Keisha Gay Jackson would have been one of the persons behind the scene. But thank you all for making it happen. I hear people pressure me now about the workshop. As soon as this meeting finishes, we'll have that workshop meeting. And Mr. Dennis Hall will be informing all of you as to when the workshop is. And let me just squeeze it in here before Keisha get upset with me, but she will. We will try to make the workshop free or close to free for the persons who are a part of this webinar. So the fact that you're a part of this webinar, that alone will make it either free or next to free for you. But the workshop won't be free to everybody. I'm telling that from now. All right, but thank you so much, and looking forward to the next time we meet. Enjoy the rest of the day. As the Shernit hand up after, so we'll finish. Shernit, you have a question? Shernit, we finish already. Now you push up your hand, Shernit? Yes.
Making sure you realize I'm here, a part of the free.
Oh, yes. You will be a part of the freeness when that time comes. And I say, all right. So enjoy. We'll be logging off. Enjoy the rest of the day.